that BYU is a 6th seed in the NIT. John Templon is his name of NYC Buckets. They do NIT Bracketology, and this season we've appreciated it even more than in the past. He's now on the Deseret First Credit Union hotline. John, welcome to BYU Sports Nation.
Thanks for having me, guys.
When did NYC Buckets decide to corner the market on NIT Bracketology? Because we've been paying attention all season on this.
Yeah, well, I started covering the NIT back when I actually wrote about Chicago schools about 8 years ago now, and I've been doing it ever since. And when I moved to New York, I continued doing it. Originally, it was my fascination with Northwestern and their ability to make the NIT, but as you mentioned, for BYU, it's become kind of a yearly kind of thing.
John, do you realize what you have done by right now at nycbuckets.com having BYU playing Utah right now? I mean, do you realize what you've done to the fan base with just the mere mention that that's a possibility?
I kind of knew when I was putting the bracket together that was a possibility, and obviously the bracket says that you should use geographic considerations when putting teams in matchups, especially for the first round. So, I mean, that just kind of fell out of the seeding that I had put together for this week.
Oh, no, this is destiny that created this matchup,
this
John.
Is karma is what
do
this
not
is.
be confused. Yeah, I don't care what the data tells you. No, I'm just playing. How likely is it that BYU does, in fact, play Utah in the NIT?
I don't think it's that likely,
oh,
to be
dang.
honest. One of the reasons is Utah's kind of dropping further down the bracket as they play worse as well. And BYU is kind of struggling to stay in the NIT bracket right now. I feel like, obviously, the performance at Mount St. Mary's kind of hurt or against St. Mary's, recently. And now, unless they beat Gonzaga at the end of the year, they're going to be right on that kind of bubble edge, and it'll be up to the BYU to kind of hold on as the NIT starts giving out these automatic bids, which we just don't know how many they're going to be when we're at this point of the year.
Right, and that is something that's should be explained. Yeah, if you win your regular season conference championship, you're in to the NIT. And I brought this up the other day, and people kind of laughed at me that BYU potentially could miss the NIT. So you think there's a shot BYU doesn't even make it?
Yeah, I mean, they're right on the line right now in terms of where your RPI and your wins need to be in order to make the NIT. I did a look 2 weeks ago about looking at the last 5 years of data, and 90 is about the RPI if you're a mid-major that you can have and still make it. And BYU is sitting right around that line and projected to be right around that line.
So that's the threshold, 90. You got to be on the inside. High side of 9. Okay, gotcha.
So with BYU, they've got Portland tomorrow, then they're at Gonzaga, then they've obviously got the WCC tournament. What would have to happen for BYU to not make the NIT? I mean, what's the scenario that would have to play out that you think would keep them out of the NIT?
I mean, it's a hard scenario right now to envision, but they'd probably – I mean, if they lost to Portland, that would obviously be really damaging for their NIT hopes. I also think that – losing early in the WCC tournament would not be a good idea. If they make the semis, they'll probably be okay. And the other thing is just those other smaller conference tournaments that they have no control over whatsoever. And depending on how many automatic bids those pop out. I mean, last year there were 15 automatic bids in the NIT, which is an unusually large number, but it could happen again.
What's the typical amount of at large?
Usually about 12.
Usually about 12.
Automatic bids.
For 32 teams, right? For the tournament.
Yeah.
Okay. John Templon of NYCBuckets.com is on BYU Sports Nation. He's an NIT bracketologist. Is there a situation where BYU gets higher than a 6th seed at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I've tended to underrate BYU in general, I will note. There's also the ability to host games, and if you're right on that 4-5 line, if you're interested in hosting games, that usually helps you kind of move up. If BYU was to beat Gonzaga, obviously they'd move up really fast. That would be kind of the big win that the profile is missing right now. Obviously, there's the season opening win over Princeton, but other than that, there's not a ton out there. So it would also be good if teams like Illinois and Colorado keep winning. That also helps. So there are some ways for other teams to help BYU out.
In the nuclear scenario where BYU and Utah face each other, in that scenario as they're sitting right now where you have them, who would get that home game?
Yeah, that would be Utah's home game because they're the higher seed. And unless there's some reason they can't host, which happened a few years ago with, there was renovations going on at Illinois' gym and they ended up playing on the road. But otherwise, yeah, it's up to the higher seed to host that first round game. So that would be at Utah.
Okay, great information. We appreciate the time, John. Good stuff. We'll keep an eye on nycbuckets.com for the latest.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Okay, John Templon on the Deseret First Credit